Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Music of the Week. As always, we have 6 albums to go through, so let's go through 6 albums. We begin with the Acacia Strain, the least known COVID vaccine variant. I make that joke in my actual written review, but I feel like it's appropriate. And their new album, You Are Safe From God Here. And this is a fairly decent bit of deathcore. I have covered these guys before. I think I covered their previous album as well, which I prefer over this one. I'm still giving this one a B+, though. I think it's got some really good stuff to it. I quite like the lyrical themes, mostly focused on dread and depression, you know, the happy stuff. And it is a bit familiar, but it's something that's always worked for them, at least from the few albums I've heard by them. Performances I also quite like as well, but I will highlight new drummer Matt Guglielmo, who I think is just an absolutely solid force and a more than welcome addition. I feel like he fits the style quite well. I quite enjoy the instrumentation. It's pretty good and I like the heaviness of the guitar, but part of me feels like the band wanted to go more hardcore punk in places, which I would totally be down for. I think hardcore punk thing is such a good thing that you should mix into more deathcore personally, and I'm kind of sad that these guys don't do it, but what we get is still pretty solid. Structure is also pretty solid as well. It's got really good build-up, but the first 11 songs, there's 12 songs on this album, and the first 11 are really short, and the album is 37 minutes and 50 seconds long. The longest song before the ending track is 2 minutes and 50 seconds, and the ending song is 13 minutes and 47 seconds. So, yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that, but I still think it's quite well handled as well. I just wish, it did feel a bit repetitive and evocative of the previous album, but I still, again, don't mind the actual forward momentum of the pacing. And I think production's pretty solid. Randy LaBeouf handled it, and he's really good at this particularly heavy style of music, especially in deathcore. He just realizes the mix quite well, and he brings a lot to it. And yeah, pretty solid stuff from what I understand, a very solid deathcore band. I feel like I got into them too late, so if anyone can recommend an Acacia Strain album, that should have been my starting point. Feel free to let me know. I'd love to actually fully cover them. I'm not going to do a backtracking episode about them because, again, that series is long and dead. But this is a band I would like to try and get into more, someone who's more into deathcore now. So if you have one for me, give it a shot and I'll probably get around to it and give this album a go if you like the Acacia Strain, because it feels very much like an Acacia Strain style of deathcore album, so it might be up your alley. Next we have a band called Ash with their new album Ad Astra. This is a band from Northern Ireland that have been around for as long as I have. They formed in 1992, which surprised me when I looked this one up. I thought they were a bit more recent than that. But yeah, this is a solid enough bit of alt rock from these guys, and I'm giving it a B. I do think the main problem I sort of have with it is that it's got good ideas, especially near the start, but it doesn't cash in on them enough for my liking. I did want it to lean more into its punkier pacing, but I quite like the alt rock vibe, and there's a solid enough song flow, but damn, there's some real creativity here, and I'm a bit sad that the band didn't fully go for it. I do quite like the instrumentation. There's really good energy to the riffs, and the guitar especially is a lot of fun, and the bass work is also quite solid. I also quite like the lyrics as well. I couldn't find themes, and I don't trust Gemini, and I'll only use it if there's another sort to corroborate it, but there is a certain charm and humour to the writing with a very healthy dose of sarcasm, I will admit. It's actually got some really good unintentional jokes there. I also enjoyed the performances. I think that frontman Tim Wheeler, who is approaching his 50s, he's 48 now, he's still got a ton of charisma. He's a lot of fun to listen to, and the whole band just sounds like they're enjoying themselves, which is always really fun. And production's also solid as well. It's fun and makes the sound pop and feel quite vibrant. It was handled by Tim Wheeler too, and yeah, it feels like it works quite well with the sound. I do quite like a lot of this. I feel like they could have gone for, again, more of a punkier edge, but I do still like it for what it is, and also the best song on this album is Dehumanized, which makes full use of their punk style. But if you just want some solid alt rock from a band who's always been reliable to my knowledge, this is my first album by them, give this one a spin. I had heard of these guys before, obviously, and Burn Baby Burn is forever a tune and a half. I love that song. It's really good. Next we have what I thought for sure was going to be my obligatory debut. I haven't done one of those in a while. We have a band called CF98 with their new album Stupid Punk. So I had to look into these guys. They're a band from Poland, specifically Krakow or Krakow. I don't know if I'm saying any of that correctly. I know I'm saying Poland correctly. They formed in 2003, and this is their 7th album, which I was not expecting. I'm giving this one a B-. I thought it was solid enough pop punk, but I'll get to my reasoning, now. I think the instrumentation is really good, to be honest. I do often question why European countries are just naturally good at pop punk for some reason. But yeah, really good and fun and poppy as you would expect. Lyrics I'm not keen on. There's a sort of good theme of in the writing of going over stuff like friendship and growing up, but there's not a lot of variety, and it doesn't really feel like anything I haven't heard before. There's even songs that remind me a bit of the most recent Settle Your Scores album. Like, there's a song on there called 1993, on this album called 1993, which reminded me so much of the Settle Your Scores song 1999. Like, in terms of not just title, but like in terms of how it's framed as well, it's really weird to me. Production I sort of liked as well. It's handled by someone like Pete Zen, who I don't think I've covered before. It's glossy and cleans things up well enough. I don't mind it. I think it's really good for a particularly like modern pop punk style. Yeah, it helps, and leans into the nostalgia that the genre can have for some people, me included. Structure is also good. I'm not sure how to feel about it though. It runs through the tropes, but it does sprinkle in some good stuff that keeps it mostly interesting. Again, like, it doesn't do a lot with what it has. It feels a bit by the numbers, but it's a good example of how to do something by the numbers and being basic. And it is basic, but it works just enough. And I also quite enjoyed the performances. I think the band actually sound like they're having fun. And lead singer, I'm gonna try and get this correct, Karolina Dushkovich. I hope I'm saying that correctly. A really good vocalist for the style, and I'm always keen for more female pop punk vocalists that don't just sound like Hayley fucking Williams. I think this was a really good pop punk album, but it's not got a lot of identity. I think it's got nostalgia and decent ideas, but I feel like this was also not a good album for me to start with by them, and they're a band that have put out stuff with relative consistency. I think their last album only came out 3 years ago, so it's not too far in the rear view. So, I don't know, maybe there's I hate to say it, but like a better album for me to get into these guys with. I don't think this was the right starting point, which is ironic because at first I thought it was a starting point for them. I thought it was their first full length, and no, it's their 7th. Still, I found it relatively enjoyable. Next, we have a lovely bit of post-hardcore sort of metalcore-y stuff. We have a band called Dayseeker and their new album Creature in the Black Night. This is a band I have covered before, and I sort of enjoyed their last album. I feel like I enjoyed this one more than that one, and I'm giving this one a B, although I was confused initially because I thought their previous album came out in 2024, but it turns out that was just like an acoustic version of the album that came before that, which I think came out in 2023 or 2022. I don't remember. Either way, I think this was solid. Lyrics I actually quite like. There's really good themes of grief and self-destruction, and they're written with some really personal feeling, which I always find quite good. I think more bands should do that, especially in post-hardcore. Instrumentation is solid enough. It's got some really good electronic tinged hardcore tingies with nice guitar and drums. It doesn't really feel super new. I feel like this is a style that's been going around for a fair while now, but it's got a certain energy to it and a really nice sort of like poppy lean. Not as poppy as our last album, but I think it's got good enough bits and bobs here as well. Same could be said about the structure. Overall, the pacing, I do feel like it runs through its good ideas fairly quick, and it gets familiar quite quick, but it does throw in enough good stuff at times, and it's got some fun bits near the beginning. And I feel like the most of it is like okay as it goes. Like, it's not terrible, but I wish I could recall more of what happened. Production is also quite solid, handled by Daniel Braunstein, who I best know for having done both of Spiritbox's albums before this, so yeah, good enough sheen, and I think he's a solid enough producer. Sends Off the Rough Edges quite well for this album as well. I think it's good enough. I prep miracles about there, screw it. And performances also quite enjoyed, mostly for lead singer, almost said lead frontman, like this too, no, just the one, Rory Rodriguez. A really good vocalist, and the rest of the band are also quite good. I think this one might have a new band member. I could be wrong about that, but it is primarily Rory who I think carries leads the charge quite well. So overall, yeah, really good stuff. Not a ton of unique ideas, to be honest. That's been a weird theme throughout this video, hasn't it? And admittedly, some good stuff here and there. I think this is better than their last album, but again, like, if anyone has a better Dayseeker album for me to check out, or something that should be my starting point, feel free to recommend it. I should actually do that with more Music of the Week episodes, if you have like a band that's been around long enough to put out this many albums, because this is Dayseeker's 7th one. Recommend one to me. Yeah, might do a new series about that, I don't know. Next up, well, you know how I don't really go over a lot of hard rock. It's not by choice, it's just not something that falls into my lap often. So thank God for a band called Mammoth, and I was going to say their new album, but I think it's really just his new album titled The End. It's the 3rd album by someone named Wolfgang Van Halen. And if that name sounds familiar, that is because he is the son of the late, great Eddie Van Halen of the band Van Halen. And the reason that the name is Mammoth for this band is because that was one of the names that Van Halen had before switching it to Van Halen, which I didn't know until looking it up, so that was kind of cool to find out. And also, if the Raven Age has taught me anything, it's that when the son of a legend in rock is in a band of the modern day, that band's going to be usually quite good. The Raven Age role, and this album was really fucking good. I'm giving it an A+. Holy shit. This was just some really goddamn good hard rock. Let's start with performances, or rather performance as Wolfgang did everything. Vocals, guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, and there were like other people that handled the producing. It was produced primarily by Michael Basquiat, who is a really fucking good rock producer, and I'm really glad that he worked with Wolfgang on this one because that's fucking incredible too. Really great production. Love how organic and fleshed out everything feels. Yeah, clean and smooth as well, and Basquiat's just really good for the style. Let's focus back on Wolfgang though. Really fucking great charisma on the guy. Yeah, I mean, you would sort of expect that from the son of Eddie. He's just got a ton of presence to him, and he just sounds like he's having such a fucking good time. And that's what hard rock should ultimately be about. It should be about having a good time. Lyrics sort of speak to the same thing. I actually quite like the main theme. I was not expecting it to hit that hard, mostly focused on the self-reflection that comes when you face your lowest points, which is why it's called The End. It's not that it's the end of the band, or rather the project, but it's because it's like sort of accepting the end and trying to make something good out of it. And it's surprisingly good writing, which I was not expecting from a modern hard rock album. You don't expect a theme to actually be this poignant, really, do you? Also, fucking love the instrumentation, bloody amazing on everything. Bass, drums, keyboard, and guitar especially is on point. Love the guitar solos. I mean, you expect the son of Eddie Van Halen to be kind of good at guitar, so yeah, Wolfgang does a really good job there. And structure is also quite good. It can feel a little bit rushed at the end, admittedly, but there's still a lot of really solid rock hooks and really good overall construction and framing to go through, so I can heavily recommend it. And also, the opener is a fucking great song, 5.5 minutes, one of a kind. Yeah, fucking banger. That fucking banger, and great tone setter for the rest of the album. Honestly, huge recommend. And again, if you want to hear what the son of a rock legend can do, I mean, really good starting point, especially considering this is only Mammoth's third album, so yeah, still early for this project, and I recommend giving it a go when you can find the time. And finally we go to, oh, Canada, specifically Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, for a band called Sumo Psycho and their new album Neon Void. This is a band I quite enjoy. I first heard about them around 2016-ish, 2017-ish, maybe earlier than that. I covered their last album, which came out 2021. Covered this one as well. Giving this one an A+. Fucking enjoyed this one. This is a sort of alt metal band with like punk rock and more traditional like pop punk and rock elements to them. And I quite like the instrumentation. I think it showcases the energy of the styles and puts them on display quite well and mixes them nicely. And yeah, the punk and more hard rocky elements just have a great effect on them, and I like how it mixes in with the band's core old metal stylings. It's got really good heavy bits to it and good light bits to it. It's just really well balanced. I like a good balance. I also enjoy the performances as well. I think there might be a new member on this one. I'm not fully sure, but I will shout out frontwoman, she is a woman, Sky Sweetnam. Yeah, just tons of personality and charisma, and her versatility and enunciation, which is fucking better than mine in this video, if that's to show anything. Just kind of insane, and she can scream really well too. I think she could always scream quite well, but I think she's definitely improved on that since last time. Just really good to hear her do punk-style screams. She's really good at it. I also enjoyed the production. It was handled by someone named Salvatore Sam Guiana, Guiana. I'm probably not pronouncing any of that correctly, but yeah, this is my first time hearing Salvatore do producing, and I think it's quite handled, quite well handled, I meant to say that. Really good mix, and I like how polished things feel, but leaving just enough of an organic vibe to them. Structure I also quite like as well. I was surprised how often it reached into its bag and pulled out new tricks to match the energy of the overall thing, keeping up with the formula nicely. However, I will admit I feel like the final song is a tad weak. Personally, I feel like there was some moments it could have gone in a bit more, but I still think it's a good close. I just don't think it's a great one. Oh, I feel bad saying that now. And also quite like the lyrics. There's a really good theme of self-perception and the encroaching technological dystopia, almost written with a concept in a way, but unlike most dystopian-style albums, especially technological dystopian-style albums, it's got this sort of defiant and psycho fucked-up sense of hope that I can't help but admire. So ultimately, if you just want some really fucking catchy alt metal with great choruses, really good performances, really good writing, yeah, I highly recommend giving this one a go. Just a lot of fun stuff and a lot of really out there weirdo bollocks, but like Weird Al bollocks that really works. Next we go to favourite song and favourite cover. Favourite song definitely goes to One of a Kind from Mammoth's The End. Just fucking love it. Again, 5.5 minutes, absolute brilliant tone setter. What a way to open an album. Favourite cover goes to CF98's Stupid Punk, is what it's called, I remembered. Yeah, I just like a pop-punky album that looks like quite colourful. And yeah, the usage of like the skull but showing like all this like cool stuff happening inside it. Yeah, really good cartoon drawing, and I like the implementation of the band's logo as well. It's really well done. And next is the stuff coming out tomorrow that I'll be covering next week, tomorrow being Spoopoween. Ooh. We have Avatar with Don't Go in the Forest, Creeper with Sanguivore 2, The Mistress of Death, Despised Icon with Shadow Work, Guided by Voices with Thick, Rich and Delicious, which was my nickname in school. It wasn't. Gum with Beneath the Wheel, and Radioactivity with Time Won't Bring Me Down. And that'll about do. I'll see you all tomorrow on Spoopoween, Ooga Booga Booga Boo, for the halfway show. Ooga Booga Boo Boo, for the halfway show. Keeping this in, fuck it. For the halfway show leading to Defy the Gods. Can't believe that's only 2 weeks away from tomorrow. That's going to be insane, insane stuff. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you over the weekend for more me Let's Playing, while streaming my Let's Play of Tunic. So I'll see you all for those things. And as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.